Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. Are you trying to master the game of life without success? There are secrets and strategies to living your best life. We'll share some of them with you on today's show. Take advantage of this series to become an expert at relationships. All relationships. It's time to live the life that you deserve to live. Now, here's your host, Sandra Reich.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich, a show about living your very best life. Since the beginning of the show, my goal has always been to bring you episodes on things that can have an impact on your life and things you can apply today. And I'm really fortunate because I'm surrounded by incredible clinicians who spend their lives helping people live their best life. And today we really have a treat. We have Anna Maria Tosca with me. She is a psychologist and a member of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression. She's done all sorts of work in addictions, anxiety, depression, helping people really live their best life. And about a month ago, I reached out to her and asked her to come back on the show because she's a very popular guest on the show. And we were bantering a bit about the topic. And she suggested she wanted to do a show on getting happy. And I mean, think about it. Here we are in February. I can't even think of a better topic. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have her. So first of all, welcome to the show, Anna Maria. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It's so much fun. I look forward to it every time.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. Now, I'm going to say what I say every show. It very rarely happens, but in case you want to call us, that would be lovely. 1-866, people actually joke about this now. I met some people at the workshop last night. We had a workshop in Montreal, a parenting workshop. So there's people who listen to the show and they know I'm always begging for people to call. No one ever calls. So they were making jokes about it. That's because a lot of people don't listen to the show live. But in case you're listening live and you want to freak us out, 1-866-472-5792. If you prefer text, it's 1-514-796-4357. If email's more your thing, info@helpforanxietydepression.com. So Anna Maria.
Yes.
When I reached out to you, it was via email.
Yes.
And we were talking about doing a show on addiction. We were talking about a few other topics. And you said you were really interested in the topic of getting happy and positive psychology.
Yes.
My first question to you is, why is that on your mind these days?
Well, that's the thing. I just think too few of us actually practice healthy, positive thinking. Wait, I know that's cheesy on some level, but on purpose. And that's what I'd love to start here, Sandra, because I want to ask you what you do, not in your downtime, but I'm asking what you do in your in-between time. So I'm talking about,
Wow, I like that.
Like when you're
in-between time is different than downtime?
So I want to say when you're driving, when you're taking a shower, when you're washing your hair, when you're washing the dishes, when you're basically getting from place to place.
I don't think I'm going to do well on this test. I have to say. I'm just going to say that right
This is not school.
But I'm going to have the wrong answer, so don't do as I do. Okay, because when I'm driving, I'm usually listening to messages and catching up on messages. Although I will say this, because I do a lot of work, those messages are often personal.
Right.
So it's really lovely for me to hear my friends. My friends leave me long messages about their lives.
That's great.
Because we don't always have time to connect directly on the phone. So I can listen or I can call them back.
Sure.
In the shower, I'm not singing, if that's what you're looking for. What are you doing?
What are you doing
in the shower?
Well, this is actually what I'm...
This is such an interesting question.
But this is like my own therapy too, right? Because I've become so interested in the power of the thoughts you have to change your chemistry, as you know, right? Your body chemistry.
What thoughts you're having.
Yeah. I'm wondering about your thoughts. So, because for me, this is the thing that has sparked my interest, right? Because I think too few of us in our in-between time or whatever, what are we doing? We are working, or God forbid, we're saying, I didn't do that properly, or I should have done that better. So we have the critical voice too, but not just the critical voice, this to-do list.
Yeah, that's what I'm on, my to-do list.
Get this done. Now that's beautiful too, because I don't want to take that away from people as well, because I know that brings some level of mastery and pleasure and satisfaction. But I do think that, and I'm going to give you some of the research to prove why, because I have to give you the science in order to start to convince you.
You wouldn't be Anna Maria Tosca otherwise.
Well, and I know you appreciate that too, because
I like science.
I feel the science, puts a fuel under our butts, so to speak, to get stuff going. So I want to argue that too few of us actually do very productive things in our in-between time. This could be your therapy.
Okay,
in your
good.
in-between time. So I want to talk about that.
Okay.
I want to talk about positive emotions and what to do.
Okay, so the premise is that on my in-between time, the story I'm telling myself and the thoughts in my brain are going to have a profound effect on my mood. I'm guessing that's where we're going.
On your mood, on your chemistry, on your body chemistry, on the enduring lifetime effects. But, and you're going to love this.
Oh, I love it
I want to
already.
talk about an evolution for a second, because think about it. We deal with anxiety, okay? Emotions that are conducive to survival. Fear, if we have to escape from the saber-toothed tiger.
Of course.
Fear, disgust, nervousness, right? This idea of I need to get out of here. Anger, fear, disgust will help us survive, right?
Disgust helps us survive, really?
Well, if we don't want to eat anything poisonous.
Oh, right, of course.
Saber-toothed tiger,
Yeah.
from an evolutionary perspective.
Right. We need those emotions.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting then to
They're
think,
negative.
Yes.
Right. So our survival emotions.
Yes.
That's thus the negativity bias, right?
And our proneness to the
negativity.
Exactly.
We're
to the negative
addicted.
emotions.
To quote Anna Maria Tosco, we're addicted to negativity.
And why not? Because from an evolutionary perspective,
It's
they're beneficial.
where our brain had to be strongest.
And this is why we have to work on the other
Good.
stuff. No,
Anna
good.
Maria Tosco.
When I read the evolutionary stuff, I'm like, oh my God, this is so interesting.
This is very smart what you just said. So I just want to make sure people are clear.
Yeah.
What Anna Maria is getting at that's really important is that she's laying the foundation. I know where she's going because I know her well. She's laying the foundation for you and for me to remember that if we're not working on this, our tendency is to go towards negative thoughts. We are programmed that way from an evolutionary point of view, which means, gosh, we really have to work on this.
Yes.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Oh, boy.
And I just want to say we have to seize every moment, though, of course. The in-between time, I know you want that to think about that to-do list. I know you want to think about that meeting. But by the end of this hour, I'm hoping that you can let it go a little bit to do some other things that I once thought, Sandra Reich, were really cheesy. Don't tell me to think more positive. Like, that's so cheesy and that's so stupid and I'm so cynical and all that stuff. But when you see the research and how beneficial it is.
This is amazing.
No, but we have to. And this is what my therapy for myself. So
great, go.
You let me know when could I start some of the research to start convincing you?
Please convince me. I'm already convinced.
No,
because it's you. But it's a very compelling argument so far.
Yeah.
Right. And we know from you and from other shows that of course whatever neuronal connections are going on in your brain, you're feeding those neuronal connections.
Yes.
If they're positive or negative, we're just making more and more of the same thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So how do we do this?
And I want to argue that the thoughts you're thinking produce chemical signatures, which are emotions. So if you produce negative thoughts, you produce critical thoughts, what's going to happen is the negative emotions are going to set in as a result. And the body's going to say, oh, we're feeling negative emotion. Here are more negative thoughts.
Okay.
So there's the feedback loop that we have to stop. Okay, so a few interesting studies that I came across to convince you, but I know you're convinced. Let's start to convince everybody else. Right? So the idea that when you do, so again, I'm not going to go into the methodology of all of these studies, but what happens when you, from a methodologically sound perspective, studies have been done, when you have more positive thinking or when you've been made to feel good. So think about treatment group, control group. Treatment group is meant to feel good, for example. What happens as a result is there's more creative, integrative, flexible thinking, but I'm going to make this more practical for all of us. We get whole picture mentality. So when you're stuck on a problem and you're reading something or you're reading a paragraph or you're trying to solve a problem and you're stuck on it, I want to say, can you see that that's thinking small in a way?
Yeah.
Like you're there, you're analyzing, and you can't really back away.
Right.
One of the benefits from the research that I found is that we have a more broadened view to see a whole picture. So you want to solve your problems? I'm telling you now, you need to
take a step back.
You need to take a step back. But in order to facilitate that, you need to, on a daily basis, practice the positive thinking.
Okay.
Which we're going to talk about how to do that as well.
Yeah, I definitely
we're
want to know how
we're going to need
do
the
it.
strategies.
Right.
So one of the benefits is whole picture stuff, which is amazing. What I also found interesting is that they tested physicians. And when physicians were made to feel better, again, using methodological stuff, they actually held up on the pre-diagnosis. They actually diagnosed better.
Oh, really?
Because they were made to feel good before studying a case.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Again, research results. And after 9/11, they found out that people who were more resilient And so they had the more resiliency led to more gratitude, and more gratitude led to more positive learning and less depression, because 70% of people, based on the research that I found, 70% of people were depressed after 9/11.
Of course.
When they were asked about it, right?
Right.
So the idea of anybody who was prone to positive thinking actually were saved from depression.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So the science really speaks for itself.
You know, it's all there.
So it's a win-win. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry, because I'm obsessed with this stuff. And and people are interested in cardiovascular recovery, I'm sure, as well, like heart stuff.
Yeah.
So people were meant to feel anxious, given a short film. And when it was an amusing short film, what happened at the end of it was the cardiovascular recovery was lessened and was easier when you were watching something funny.
So your body just like physically feels better. Right.
So,
but you know where we're going to go. Look, we're going to take a break in a few minutes.
Yeah,
but not yet. But you know, I'm going to play the voice of cynical people.
Please, good.
Because I think we all know that positive thinking is good for us. I don't think that's a novel concept.
Right.
But I think there's a part of us that goes like, are we supposed to be Pollyanna and say everything's great when things are not great?
Exactly.
So before we get into the strategies, what do you say to people who say, or even yourself, when you're having a bad day and you're like, oh yeah, I should be doing my positive thinking? Like, is there not some resistance in you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So when you're having a bad day, you ride out the bad day.
You ride out?
You ride out the bad day.
What does that
in other words,
mean?
like I want to say lovingly, throw in the towel that day.
Throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say when
do you throw in the towel?
Absolutely.
What does that look like in your life?
What does that look like?
Oh,
it
this
looks
is so interesting.
No, but I love this.
Why do you throw in the towel?
Because you throw I love the way you described it. You're like, okay, what happens when you're just having a bad day? You had a bad meeting. You're feeling bad about yourself or whatever. You're not feeling good. You didn't eat well. Throw in the towel.
What does that look like?
That looks like, listen, my negative thoughts are going to take me today. That's okay. I'm going to allow it to happen. And then you're going to commit to something else. You're going to, for example, me, if I'm having a bad day, I write it out. The next morning, I'm getting up and I'm doing these strategies that we're going to talk about, one of which is going to be meditation, of course. But you get up and then you make a commitment. Because the thing is, we don't realize that if you hold positive thoughts for a certain amount of time, they are going to take over. For a certain period of time. Like if you put yourself in a particular mood, you can ride out that good mood in the same way you can ride out a bad mood. Right. You have to consciously milk the good stuff. Yeah. On purpose. Right. But that's what I want people to do in their downtime.
I have questions. Before we take a break, and we'll come back from the break, we'll do the strategies. Yeah. I just want to know one thing from you very quickly.
Yes.
How has this impacted your life?
Oh my God. So, and my husband can attest to this, of course. I'm coming home, and I know this sounds Pollyanna, but I don't care at this point. You know what?
It works.
Put up or shut up at this point, people.
Yeah.
Like
say it's straight,
positive stuff.
Straight talk with Sandra Reish.
So, put up or shut up. This stuff works. You have to do it on purpose.
Okay. So your husband is saying
what? So my husband is attesting to, I'm coming home, I'm in a good mood. I'm coming home, I'm excited about the future. I'm coming home and I'm optimistic.
And this is not how you were before?
Well, not as much. Not as much. And then the thing is too, what you attract on the outside in terms of people. I was about to tell you before, and then I know we had to get the radio show started, but weirdly, this past month, because I'm hardcore in this now. There's a reason why I wanted to talk about this now, because I'm hardcore in it. Enough's enough. Right. I'm tired of my critical voice and all that stuff. And all out of nowhere, I thought about it today on the way here, because I was in the car, downtime, positive thinking, right? I'm going, I got a weird compliment from so-and-so, and then I got this great compliment from so-and-so, and then, oh my God, that's true. And then the secretary at work said this about me. And it was just kind of this weird, coincidental, serendipitous explosion of things that I'm attracting, probably based on my attitude. Right. I have other beliefs there too, but I think based on my attitude, based on how I'm carrying myself, there's stuff that's coming my way that wasn't coming my way in the kind of abundance that it's coming. Right. It's awesome.
So it just keeps on it's circular, it keeps on going. Okay, so I know if you're listening, and you are listening, that you're dying to know how to do this. Yeah. So we'll take a short break, sit tight, and get your pen and paper out, because we're going to have play-by-play strategies. We'll be right back on Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats, and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
A fresh look at today's health. Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
Back on Straight Talk, one thing I love about doing the radio show is having on a brilliant clinician to teach us stuff. And I'll tell you, Anna Maria Tosco is in the house, and she is on fire. She is very passionate. I wish you could see her face. She's so into it. So Anna Maria, you've got me all fired up. You know, you mentioned meditation, so I do meditate, so I'm curious about that.
Yep.
But you're talking about a lot of strategies. Before we get into the strategies, let's go back one step about the idea that on your in-between time, well, I guess that's the strategies. What am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
So I wanna preface this though with the following. Now, if I were, clinically depressed or swimming in my symptoms, where I needed, psychological help, it's psychological help in the way, because positive psychology is psychological help, but at the same time, it's not. When you're swimming in your symptoms, you need the psychologist to do different strategies. Positive psychology might not be the way to go. Now, some positive psychologists might say that's not true or whatever, but in my opinion, look, when you're clinically depressed, I'm not going to do these strategies with you because you'll tell me where to go. Right. I feel that these strategies are really for, hey, you did your work, you did your therapy, you were feeling low or you had symptoms, you've moved past them, and now you want to kind of enhance for self-development. This is where these strategies come in.
I should mention she's a teacher too, by the way. You're great at teaching things.
Thank you. I love it. I love this stuff. Okay, so now I'm gonna tell you about some Pollyanna strategies that I personally use. Okay. I'm gonna say blow drying your hair. Okay, washing dishes, for example. My favorite is in the car. Like, where I live.
Your favorite is to blow dry your hair in the car? So confused. I know. What are you talking about, woman?
My favorite time to do this stuff is in the car. I do it blow drying my hair too, washing dishes, but in the car is like the best because you're kind of in a meditative state in the car. We're on autopilot. Okay. So I know this sounds very strange, but I'm actually encouraging people, and again, it's to enhance the positive chemistry in your body to in those enduring effects, those cardiovascular effects. All of that's the science stuff I talked to you about. How to do that. One thing, I like to fantasize about the future, and that's the thing. Once upon a time, I would have said, this is so stupid. But if you believe in the science, it's not stupid. I need you to find a way. And if this sounds cheesy to you, fine. I don't care. But my thing, fantasizing about the future, thinking about positive memories and milking them, vacations you want to take or will be taking. Because here's the thing, people are blow drying their hair or they're in the car and they're thinking about your to-do list. What do I need to complete? How can I be efficient? And hey, you know me, I like efficiency too. But the thing is, when you're consumed with that, like why not just start to fantasize about something randomly, but as a therapeutic strategy for you? And I dare you to do it. I dare you to do it for 1 month. I dare you to do it for 1 month and then report back in terms of your mood. If you have like a mood chart that you use, an app, I dare you to do this kind of thing in your in-between time, fantasize about something, look forward to something, but not just for a minute. I'm saying maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Let's take an example. So when you say you fantasize about your future, a lot of people, like myself included, might be like, I didn't even have a thought about my future. It's like, what do you fantasize about? Like, share with us a personal example.
See, this is where I don't want to get specific. You want to know why? Not because about privacy, but because sometimes these fantasies you can't hold them positively because there's disbelief. There's resistance in your fantasies because you don't believe that you can have stuff. So that's why fantasies can only be possible if you believe. So if fantasizing is likely not for a lot of people. So I would say vacations. I would say, what are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to? Nicer weather this summer. What are you going to be doing with your family? What about positive memories from the past? But milking it, like, don't you have, like, I'm thinking about that time I went to Cuba, and that was the best vacation of my life. And if I just stood there in that memory for 5 minutes, I would really feel good. The problem is that you stay in a memory, and what happens, like, you tell me if this happens to you, but you stay in a memory and you kind of go, like, that was a long time ago, or, oh, that was the best vacation ever, but I'm never going to have one like that again, or that was in the past. Why am I thinking about that? Like, am I wrong? What's your experience there? If you hold something in your mind, do you milk it and kind of purely have the joy of that memory, or do you have resistance that comes in?
Well, I'm weird like that. I do a bit of both. I think I do this. I'm very, very, very sentimental. And so that falls under milking it. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I'm a person who believes, like, anything that happens, we celebrate. It's a big thing.
It's true. It's so true, guys. It's amazing. Sandra Riche is wonderful.
Center,
like that. It's true.
Yeah, like, we're coming up to an anniversary at the center. I'm just thinking we got to do something.
21.
Yeah. So, so in one way, I think I'm quite good at it. In another way, when you were talking about Cuba, I was thinking about a vacation that I took to Cuba. And I think what you're talking about is you qualify it.
Yes.
So I was thinking about
like that
the first vacation I took with my husband to Cuba, and we were we're very in love now, but we were madly in love. Yeah. And I think that the danger is I might say to myself, oh, that was beautiful. Oh, to be first in love again, which takes away a little something. I think what you're talking about is to not qualify it.
Yes.
Just sit in it.
Thank you. Yeah. That's such a beautiful way to describe it.
Yeah.
because what happens is we judge, or we polarize, all good or all bad, or the negative stuff seeps in. But I wanna encourage people to just, whether it could be memories. If you don't want to think about the past, I encourage you to think about the future. I'm looking forward to vacations with my kids this summer. I'm looking to, one day going to Disney World and, doing it up really good. Like, to hold that, and the chemicals that are produced with that joy, that pure joy, no resistance. Catch yourself when you're going, oh, that's never going to happen, or it's going to take us so long to make the money to go to Disney World. Like, that's what happens with our thoughts. We rarely have have the pure thoughts outside of the resistance. And I'm just encouraging people, go pure a bit more often.
Do you find that there's competitive thoughts?
In what way?
Like, you're thinking about Disney World with your kids, and then a competing thought comes and says, it doesn't really dismiss Disney World, but it goes to, what are you doing about that email that's waiting for you at home? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what now? If I can qualify that for a second, with that email that's waiting for you at home, what's the goal of attacking that email? Again, is it productivity? Is it achieving, accomplishment, to-do list? What is it?
To-do list. So I'm thinking that your brain, like the monkey brain that they talk about, my brain loves to sit in fantasy or really happy times, but then I guess a very responsible part of me that's been highly trained to be responsible kicks in and says, it doesn't say, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, but it just goes to work. Right. It goes back to work.
Exactly. And so if I were you, I would be thinking, what does that do for me? Why does my brain go there? Why am I trained this way? What is it about me? Like, what do I believe about me that I have to complete this task? Right. Oftentimes it's about worthiness. Yeah. Oftentimes it's the foundation of all of our negative thoughts, often our worthiness. Right. So what I would suggest now we're really talking about the strategies, is this is why it's work. You have to, exercise. You have to extrapolate that stuff when you're doing the work that I'm talking about. Like, so you are committing to the pureness of the thought.
So you go back to the Cuba thoughts at that moment. Exactly. You're like, whatever with the email, let me go back to Cuba.
Exactly. Right. If you can. And it takes practice.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying.
And you do this.
The pureness. Yes.
Regularly.
When
you're driving and when you're blow drying your hair.
Yes. And the key is absence of resistance.
Okay.
Just for a few minutes.
Okay.
and then the chemicals that it's producing, it's just a beautiful feedback loop, and then you end up enhancing your mood. It's just super beneficial.
Wow.
Right? And I mean, there are more strategies I want to talk to you about too.
Keep going.
Again, these things for me, I thought were superficial. Like at the beginning, I'd be like, don't tell me to do this, but the amount of positive emotion that comes out of it. So one of the things from the research that I read, one of the positive psychology strategies that work over time that have enduring effects involve a gratitude visit. I haven't tried this one yet, but it involves writing a letter to someone that you feel you need to thank, that you haven't thanked properly, and delivering this letter to them. Mm-hmm. Now, apparently, the amount of joy that you feel, the amount of gratitude, the reception that you get, all of the emotions associated with that kind of activity are positive psychology related.
Yes.
Now, that to me, I'm like, okay, that one's interesting, but I if it's interesting to you, please try it, But also, there's something else that they do. They're called character strengths, and I do this with my clients now as well. So it's Seligman, right? The founder of positive psychology.
Seligman.
He has these character strengths. So there's about 24 character strengths, right?
I'm familiar with these.
Yeah, and so the thing is, what I do with my clients now is I give them a list of their character strengths, and they have to tell me how these character strengths show up in their life, why and how. So I'm just going to read you some of them, right? Creativity, curiosity, perspective, bravery, honesty, perseverance, kindness, social intelligence, forgiveness, right? These kinds of things, fairness, leadership. So it's up to them to tell me, how this comes up, why this comes up 3 times in the week for a month.
Okay.
So you're essentially celebrating your character strengths, because guess what? When we're dealing with people who have low self-esteem or low self-worth, it's time for you to consider legitimately, what are your strengths? Without resistance, tell me what your strengths are. And I need you to keep a journal. I need you to tell me what your strengths are. 3 times in 1 week, what happened? What was the strength that was exhibited? Where you used it? Why?
Let's make sure this is broken down. So if I find out a strength of mine is honesty.
Yes.
So if I was your client and I was doing a homework assignment, I would find 3 times in a week where my honesty showed up, and I used it as a strength of mine to honor it.
Yes. I mean, you can do it that way, or you can look at your character strengths list at the end of a day or at the end of the week and say, okay, well, these are the things that happen, and character strength there, character strength there, character strength there.
Right.
And sometimes what's beautiful is the homework assignment is choose 3 different character strengths now.
Okay. So you keep finding out your things.
Keep finding out your things, and milking it, basking in it without the resistance is key.
Okay. So the resistance is what we have to watch. And why does the resistance come up so much for people?
Because, I mean, the as we know very well, the critical voice is there, the low self-esteem is there, the low self-worth, the not believing in yourself, all of that stuff, or the cynicism, and the sarcasm. And me, and I love sarcasm. It's great, and of course it's super funny and stuff. But we have to watch ourselves with sarcasm. We have to watch ourselves with self-depreciating humor. I call it like the Amy Schumer effect. Like, I love it. Self-depreciating humor is hilarious. Watch it.
Yeah, be careful.
Be careful with that, right? Especially if there's a low self-esteem issue. If you're not remembering what your strengths are, you're screwing yourself over.
Okay, so when we come back, a lot of people won't know what critical voice means. So I want to briefly explain that to people. So sit tight, as I like to say. We'll be right back on Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Your life, your health, your network. This is Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
We are back on Straight Talk with Sandra Reish with Anna Maria Tosco, who is a psychologist, a licensed psychologist, who specializes in many, many different things, and definitely emotions being on that, and helping people really to feel better when they are clinically depressed, when they're anxious, relationship issues. Those are all your areas. So you had mentioned that if there's a deep depression, you obviously treat that first.
Yes.
Once people are sort of on dry land and standing tall, then you bring in something called positive psychology, which is really very scientific and very interesting. So before the break, we talked about the critical voice as being one of the places that there's a lot of resistance. So for people listening who don't know what that means, what do you mean when you say a critical voice?
The critical voice, also known as inner critic, that internal narrative that essentially beats you up. You know, I'm not good enough at this. You failed the exam. How could you? Your parents are going to be so mad at you. Or, you know.
Why do we do that?
It's, you know what, Sandra? I say to my clients, I'm like, it's so ancient and it's so old. Like, I feel like it's been there. We've internalized it, you know, from, I don't know, elementary school aged, or some kind of criticism, a teacher, a coach, a parent, and it just follows us forever unless we do something. What do you think? Like, do you have that experience too with your clients?
I think that the critical voice definitely is things that have been said to you that you've held on to, and they become your beliefs about yourself. They often do come from our parents, which are they're well-meaning, but they might have said, "Oh, you're so slow, you're always late."
Exactly.
Or something of that nature. And then that voice stays in your head. I mean, like we were talking about performance and to-do lists, and you were saying that people who are like that, of which I am one of them, have to go to the bottom, have to figure that out. I mean, it's not really that complex for me to figure it out. Like, the critical voice in my family was, you got 95 in school, where are the missing 5 marks?
Right.
So sometimes, because I am a therapist and I am very aware of this, I'm watching myself. I often will see myself talking to myself exactly like that. My critical voice will be going, well, yes, you got this, and this done, but you didn't get this, and this done. And I say, oh, hello, critical voice. You got 95 in school, not 100.
Exactly.
And I have to fight it. I'm a therapist. I'm trained at this, and I have to fight it every day and go, like, I have to swear at it and say, F off.
Yeah, amen.
Okay, I got a lot done today.
Yeah.
But the neuronal pathways were formed a long time ago.
Exactly.
And, you know, like, that's where we absorb them. So people listening have all their own internal critical voice. That was an example of mine.
Yeah.
I like when people know personal examples. What's one of yours?
Sure. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is kind of benign. I wish it was a bit more juicy, but you know me, with time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
you were
like,
talking about that when you got here today. What did you mean?
You're late. So for me, with my jobs, I'm seeing clients or I'm in class. So it's like, you know, for me to be a few minutes late, I am overly caretaking for the client. I'm overly caretaking for my students. Like, it's not okay.
So the critical voice says it's not okay.
Late. Yeah, and you can't be late. And of course, you know, having to call myself out on it. Often having to look at models as well, some people around me. That's super helpful. I love it. I have Sandra Reish in my head sometimes with time. She chills me out with time. I'm like, I have 8 minutes. That's enough. Sandra Reish wouldn't be, she wouldn't be freaking out over 8 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going, 8 minutes. Oh my God, I'm going to be late.
So your critical voice, wait a sec. So let's just try this again. Your critical voice says that you shouldn't be late.
Yeah.
And does this come back from a parental voice?
Absolutely, I would say.
What did you hear growing up that made you have that voice?
I think it's the work ethic of my, old school Italian, immigrant parents.
Oh, for
where
sure.
It's you work hard, you go to work, you shut up, you go to work, you do your thing.
Right.
and you're not late for work.
Right, but
and
many
you
people
listen
listening might say, well, that was really good that your parents taught you that. It's good to be on time. And they might even say, my parents taught me to excel at things.
Listen,
there's a good side, but there's also a downside, right?
When it's excessive.
So we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I still like to get things done. You're still going to try to be punctual.
Exactly.
But the critical voice has to go. So when you're running late, it's to be loving and compassionate to yourself.
So this is actually, I want to take it a step further, because what Sandra is saying, brilliant, and this is what we do with our clients, and it's such important therapy. You have to deal with the inner critic, the critical voice. You have to be compassionate. You have to reparent,
right?
And you have to do it often, right? Which is what you just said. You do it every day.
I do it every day.
So now I want to enhance this, Sandarish, because it's important. Yeah, I know I do that.
I love it, but I always do that too. I love it.
Like yes, that's important, and it's a lifelong thing. I want to add something though. Then imagine if you can. Now again, you have to be, relatively healthy, good well-being. You're not clinically depressed or anything like that. But so you're doing this inner critic stuff. You're doing your self-esteem work, and I want you to enhance it with positive psychology, because the thing that's missing is essentially that pure joy, emotion. I want to say meditation. We'll talk about meditation, I know, but that thing in the absence of resistance more often in your week, because then it's not just you fighting the critical voice and training yourself over time and kind of beating down something negative. It's letting something positive flourish.
Okay.
Like that's what I want to add to everybody's regimen. You know what I mean?
Letting something positive flourish. Beautifully said.
Right, because and a lot of this positive psychology stuff, positive psychology has its critics too, but positive psychology does some criticizing as well to the medical model, which is psychologists treat bad things when, they're saying, hey, what about allowing the growth and the flourishing and the, perpetuating of the positive emotions,
right,
as opposed to, helping the negative emotions or the negative symptoms.
That makes sense.
So that's just what I want to add. So depression, critical voice, practice, yes, but then I want everybody listening. This is your homework. I want you to add something here. I want you to add a positive psychology practice, be it the gratitude visit, be it acknowledging your character strengths, be it fantasizing about something for 5 minutes every day, looking forward to something, feeling that pure joy, because I want to say then maybe the working on your inner critic and stuff will get easier with the flourishing and the growth of that beautiful, positive,
beautiful flowers growing
exactly
there, and it sort of pushes the weeds away.
Exactly.
Almost like. So, Anna Maria,
new program.
Yeah, new program. Anna Maria, meditation has a huge role in this.
Yeah, totally.
Why?
Okay.
And how?
Yeah. So with regard to meditation, what happens is you quiet your mind. When you quiet your mind, you stop thoughts.
Okay.
Sorry, and you stop thoughts, and you not only stop, you stop negative thoughts, of course, and you're also stopping any kind of thought, any positive thought too. But the idea of sitting, practicing the absence of resistance.
Okay.
The absence of resistance often. Listen, some of the teachers that I followed, they would encourage you to meditate for an hour a day, right? And I realize that's not very likely. I used to. Yeah. I got good results. Now I'm doing it for about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Which some theorists maintain
I feel
that's
much
enough.
better to hear that, because I remember when you used to do 90 minutes. You got me into it for a while, but it's just not realistic.
It's really not realistic. That's the thing. So the reason why I encourage meditation, I actually encourage meditation before adopting the positive psychology stuff, to practice the absence of resistance. Okay. So you're sitting there for 15 minutes, and listen, at the beginning, maybe it's going to take you longer, because it will take long for those thoughts to kind of go away. For those, for the hamster to stop going, depending on your day. Don't do it in the middle of the day. Please don't do it in the middle of the day. The risk of doing it at night is that you can fall asleep. Of course, they say, do it before your kids wake up. Wake up 15 minutes early before work. Even at that, I know it's not realistic. Find 10 minutes, something before, so that you can quiet your mind in the absence of resistance. To practice the absence of resistance, I would recommend this before adding a positive psychology element, because you could learn how to toss those aside for a second and then just bask in the joy of these, what happens after doing some of these positive psychology things.
Okay, so When you were talking about those negative days where you just sort of like write off the day,
Yeah.
and then you said the next morning you wake up and you start with a meditation.
Yes.
Is this a guided meditation that you do?
It could be.
What do you do?
I love that you asked that, because when I talk to my clients about it, they go, so what? Is there an app? Is there a music that you recommend? Is there like something that you can send me on YouTube? And I said, you know what? No, because I don't know about you, but my bits, my issues, my wounds might come in and say, I don't like this voice. My saboteur comes in and wants to come in and sabotage my work and all of that.
Of course, it has to be good for you.
It has to be good for I got to tell you, it could be guided one day. It could be, interesting sounds like chakra bowls sounds. It could be beautiful music,
all sorts
soundtrack,
of different things.
All sorts of different things. And that's what I recommend to my clients, because the thing is, if I send you something and it's a voice that you don't like, or it reminds you of your aunt or whatever, if you're quite rigid or perfectionistic, you're like, I have to do it this way.
Yeah.
No. So I allow some freedom with that.
You yourself, though, like you don't know in advance which meditation you're going to do.
Exactly.
You check, this is an important piece, you check what are you in the mood for.
Which is, goes hand in hand with what you practice and preach, which is check in with yourself. What do you need? So before I do a meditation.
So you might say to yourself, you know what, I'm in the mood for some quiet music right now for 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
But you're really talking about quieting the mind for about 15 minutes, whichever way you see fit.
Exactly.
And, we know there's tons of research on meditation, but what do you feel, how important is meditation in your life?
So, as we know, given the fact that we're anxiety, therapists and stuff, we know that it's so important to be able to have control over your body, to know that you have control over your body at any moment in time. If you can, quiet your mind, sit down and breathe. And the more you do that, the more confident you are in that ability. So the thing is, it's empowerment. And it's actually the most ultimate form of self-care out there. If you can quiet your mind, know that you have control over your body, and know that you have choice in where to go.
Yeah.
Within the meditation, but also after. What thoughts am I going to choose? Right. And you have to push through. You have to push through those thoughts that are like, oh my God, I have to get this done. I have to submit this. And you know what I mean? You have to.
For sure.
Yeah.
So do you recommend that people do meditation like once a day or many times a day?
Yep, once a day. I would say once a day is enough. And also too, just to let you know when you're doing it properly, because so many people wonder, am I doing it properly or whatever? It's just, it is this feeling of detachment. So if you don't get there the first few times, that's fine. But when you start to feel numb, or if your hands are, let's say, together, or they're on your lap, and then you're like, whoa, I don't know where my hand begins, where my hand ends and my leg begins, or I don't know, I'm feeling kind of detached. That's it. And your only motivation is to sit there through it. And listen, when I was doing hardcore meditation, right, I attended a workshop where they made us meditate for 6 hours in one weekend. What they teach is you have these urges to get up and go. Your phone rings, you have to get up and go. You know what I mean? Or you're like, you think that the doorbell rings, or you're waiting for a package and you're like, you know what? I'm going to just listen a little bit for the doorbell and then I'll get up. Or, you know what? My dad's going to call right now. So I'll just leave my phone here. I'll just wait for my dad. No big deal. And my dad will call and I'll say what I need to say and I'll hang up and I'll go back to my meditation. No. The objective is, having control over your body, and that empowerment, that time for you. It's the ultimate form of self-care, and you commit to it. And the more you practice that, the better it is for your choice of thought, the better it is for your the pureness, the joy, if you're practicing any positive psychology strategies. It's just...
So you're basically laying the foundation for meditation.
Exactly.
Okay. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Straight Talk with Sandra Reish.
Opinions, options, answers. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reish, on her famous couple retreats, and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reish. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety videos therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you chose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Your life, your health, your network. Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reish. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reish.
So we are back with Anna Maria Tosco, psychologist, talking about getting happy. And getting happy is, and I started the show by talking about we are in February. A lot of people are not happy right now. We're getting a lot of calls for people feeling very discouraged. The weather, we live in the north here, so it can get very gray. And the winter can be very depressing for people. So you've talked about a lot of strategies people can do. But would you not agree that getting happy before any strategies is a choice?
Oh my God, Sandra, I love that. It's so true because it's like, I think self-esteem is a choice, happiness is a choice, and it at a certain point in your life, you actually have to, it's like choose it or lose it. Right. Like I remember writing something on the Sassy Psychologist about self-esteem, choose it or lose it. Happiness, happiness, choose it or lose it. And I know that sounds so vague, but at a certain point, you really do have to choose the better feeling thought. What do you mean when you say, happiness is a choice? So what does that mean? How does one choose happiness? I think it means choosing a happier thought, knowing that you can do that. What about you?
Look, I think, and it's going to be a little provocative, I think that we have to be very honest with ourselves. And I think sometimes we choose misery. I think there are collateral benefits to feeling sorry for yourself. And so, we talked about on the show a few weeks ago about the idea, like people say they hate the winter. But if you live in a place where there's a winter, then you can make the best of the winter, or you can hate the winter. So there's got to be a benefit to complaining and being negative. And we don't talk about that, but there are benefits. Do you agree?
The alluring factor of victimization.
Just for example. Yeah,
what's so alluring about being the victim,
it's
right?
So alluring.
Yeah.
Anna Maria, what are your thoughts on why it's so seductive to be a victim? I have to tell you, for Straight Talk listeners, the older I get, the more I walk through my life, the more I see people can get incredibly seduced into the victim and they may never want to get out.
I know.
Why?
It's so heartbreaking to see somebody. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, so the idea of we all have pity parties, as Sandra says. We have our pity parties and we're entitled. But the I want to call it forgive the word. It's pop culture, but mentality, the victim mentality. So feel so sorry for myself. It's so unfair. I can't believe this is happening to me. Nothing good ever happens to me. And look at all of these environmental factors that are contributing to this. And so, of course, these environmental factors are legitimate and they're valid and stuff. But we have to realize when we are being a victim. It's so alluring because being a victim allows you to complain. Being a victim allows for people to comfort you. What are the other seducing factors of being a victim? They're rampant. But I want people to start thinking about that. Like, why? Feeling sorry for myself. This is happening to me. And I'm feeling sorry for myself. What is so appealing? What is so alluring about that?
Well, really lately I've been seeing this a lot, and I'm not sure I 100% have the answer because there's certain people I've met that they can't get out of the victim. They just can't. And so what I realize is it removes all responsibility from you. As long as you're the victim, then there's a perpetrator. And you're the good guy, and they're the bad guy.
Yeah, always.
and you're off the hook.
Yeah.
For me, it's a very foreign concept because I almost flip the other way. Like if I have a conflict with someone, my first question is, maybe I did something wrong, right? So I'm so extremely the other way, and I'm not complimenting myself because that's slightly caretaking / codependent. So it's just another psychological problem.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm not throwing flowers at myself. But
Psychologists are all caretakers in recovery.
Right,
Codependent.
but it's very foreign to me, the concept. But I don't think victims realize that the price tag they pay for not having responsibility is they have no control over their lives. Yeah. Getting happy gives you control over your life, doesn't it?
I love this. So you're correlating like happiness with removing the victim.
Absolutely.
I love that.
It's worth it to take responsibility and find out that you can be like a bit of an idiot sometimes, or do things wrong and know that you can change it. I think it's a good deal, don't you?
Absolutely. With some people, I know it's so hard for them to get out of the victim, and it's heartbreaking because you're sitting there and you're listening and you're like, wow, this is so victim. But even sometimes in therapy, I actually build up a relationship where you can bring that up. And you know that people with hardcore, victim consciousness are just so resistant to it, and they're not going to choose the happiness.
Right.
They're not going to.
Right. Is that frustrating for you when that happens?
Hard.
Especially since you are so passionate about happiness and getting happy. Right. I mean, do you feel sometimes that with clients and people listening that sometimes you can, you also almost have to step back?
That's the only way.
They want to be victim. What can you do?
Yeah. And for anybody who has someone like this in your life, you can't be their therapist. You do have to step back and almost tolerate.
And that's where the codependency comes in, because if you keep trying to help them, that's when you're starting to get yourself into trouble.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have to get happy. Nobody has to get happy. I guess the question of the hour today, the question for the listeners is, why wouldn't you want to get happy?
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Why wouldn't you?
Do you agree that some people just don't want to get happy?
Yeah. With regard to being a victim, with regard to feeling like they can't, again, it's all pointing to, I can't do it, inner critic, this is so stupid. If this is the kind of cognitive pattern that they have, then they're not going to reach the point where they say, oh, I want to get happy. What are the steps to go there? This is the person who positive psychology techniques won't work for. Right. This is the other stuff. This is the psychodynamic techniques. This is the CBT stuff that they have to go to first before even thinking about getting happy or doing any kind of positive psychology stuff.
I guess, that's the thing about these psychology in general and positive psychology and strategies is, in a way, they're not as sexy as people would like, because they're not instant and they're not something that, you go to the therapist and you're cured.
No way.
You have to do the work. It's the biggest message of this show and of my career. There is no magic. I always say when I speak, if there was magic, I would have found it, bottled it, and made $1 billion.
Totally. Totally.
And plus I would have avoided all the pain that I've gone through in my life.
Totally.
There's no magic. You got to do the work. Even today's show, you've given a whole bunch of strategies, but they're work.
Right, exactly.
Meditation, you got to be fantasizing. You got to be writing gratitude letters. You got to be putting your brain in a good place. That feels like a lot of work.
And it is. And you know what? I'm not going to make any excuses for it. It's like going to the gym. At a certain point, if you want results from therapy, it's just like getting results from the gym. And I'm sorry if this pisses people off, but you have to do the work. You're not going to get abs if you go to the gym once and do a few crunches.
So how do you fit this all into your life? You're talking about the gym, you're talking about positive psychology, you're a top clinician, you're a teacher, you're a mother.
Right.
How do you do it all?
And you said it perfectly before, and it's choice. I'm getting up before my kids get up. And I am, even if it's just
putting your kids get up.
Yeah,
wow.
Putting on a little, but 5 minutes.
Okay.
And the thing is too, and one of the teachers that I listen to, it encourages just positive aspects. Take 3 minutes. And this might be the easiest of all, Sandra, because you can do this. You take 3 things, and I'm going to mention them to you. For example, one of the things I can easily get to, the pureness and the joy, is strangely my car. Not because of the type of car I have, but the freedom of driving. Have you ever think about that?
No.
I appreciate
I never did.
But that's a good point that you never did.
Right.
If we can think about it, the car, I have freedom to go wherever. I can get up, I can get somewhere efficiently. And taking the bus is not bad, but man, I just love the car.
Yeah.
Especially in the wintertime. It's warm, it's there. I can get places efficiently. I'm milking the appreciation that I have for a vehicle.
Right.
Now, it sounds stupid, it sounds superficial or whatever, but it does. When I appreciate my vehicle for 5 minutes, it does produce the chemicals necessary for what I'm talking about.
Right.
So as easy as
So that's
that.
your positive aspects right there.
You know, positive aspects. And then I can actually get into, of course, I can appreciate my kids and my little infant when she smiles. And if I stay there for 3 minutes, you know what, in the end, Sandra, that's all I'm asking.
Right.
That will get you where you need to go.
I can't believe it, Anna Maria, but we are out of time. You are just brilliant. I want to say that so everybody hears me. You're a brilliant woman, and what you've come here to teach us is so important. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much for being on Straight Talk.
Oh my God, you're more than welcome, Sandra. It's such a pleasure. And listen, I do work for the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression. Sandra's my clinical director, and I wouldn't be where I am without her. So thank you so much, Sandra.
So nice. I'm sure someone listening is going to want to find you. How do they find you?
Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression, 777-4530. You can even read a little blog that I put together for fun, www.sassypsychologist.com.
Yes, and that phone number, just so people know, we have an international audience. It's 514.
Thank you.
777-4530. We're very popular all around the world. I want to thank everybody for listening, as well as having Anna Maria Tosco join me, and certainly check out her blog. It's a great blog. I love it. It's sassypsychologist.com.
Yeah, fun.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anna Maria. I'd like to invite you all to come back next week. If you're interested in anything that was said on the show, you missed the numbers or any information, just go to helpforanxietydepression.com. If you want to listen to any previous shows, to go to straighttalksandarish.com. All the previous shows are there. If you're interested in anything else at all, you can find out through either of the websites or check out our Facebook page too, Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. Feel free to leave a comment for Anna Maria or myself. We do love to hear from you. You can hear this and any prior show as a podcast on my website, on the podcast app of your iPhone, and on iTunes under Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. Don't forget, you can drop me a line, comment or question anytime at info@helpforanxietydepression.com. My name, as always, is Sandra Riche, and I promise I'll help you to learn to live your best life again next Thursday, same time, same channel. In the meanwhile, this is Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. Keep your eyes on the stars.
Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Riche. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Now, go live your best life.